So one of the questions we get at the bookshop almost like once a week at this point is, hey guys, have you got any advice on how you go about making your own zine or photo book or magazine? And yes, we have loads of advice, and I'm sick of writing that email for the 100th time. So first of all, much love to everyone who sent out the email. I love it when people reach out and get involved. I've just thought it'd be better to make it into a video. Over the years, information about how to self-publish has drastically changed, and it's become way more accessible. You have services like Mixam and SoloPress and iHeart Print who are enabling you to simply go online, fill out a few boxes and upload a PDF, and boom, a couple days later a photo book turns up on your doorstep looking as professional as it possibly could. Way back in 2018 when I started making zines, SoloPress took a long time to find out about, and even then it was a slightly different service. On top of that, the only other alternatives we were being often pushed towards was something like Blurb. Blurb gives decent finish and quality, but it's more for people producing photo books for personal reasons, so one-offs, and it doesn't get more cost effective as you print more and more, and it's not very cost effective if you're planning on selling prints. So trying to separate out between services that allow you to print a few copies versus places that are only really made for making one personal copy is really key here. So trying to push it even further, if you really want to push the boat out and really do something really cool, try and find somewhere local. Try and find a book binder or a printers that do it. I had a really interesting podcast with a man named Stuart Coote who works at Pure Print about this exact issue, people wanting to go to these self-services and not talking to the publishers, and how much that limits the scope of what can be done. When you talk to these people in person, they know their stuff, they'll recommend really cool ideas, and you can do stuff that isn't available through a simple online form. You're talking about different bindings, different ideas, fold out pages, different materials, different paper types that otherwise wouldn't be accessible to you. We have a really cool printer not far from us called Silly Goose in Whedon Depot, and they dabble in some book binding and they're really cool. So if you're local to Northampton, definitely give them a shout and have a look. So the next piece of advice when it comes to making a photo book for the first time is learn about what bleed is. Bleed is essentially an imaginary line around your paper which you're essentially leaving a bit of give for printing error. It's usually somewhere between 3 and 5 millimeters depending on the printing machine, but always check with the manufacturer. Getting it wrong can lead to weird mirroring that some services will apply at the top and bottom edges of your pages, or you'll end up with simply a weird white border around everything, or images being cut off as well if you're not intending them to be. It can be really frustrating to get back a box of 50 zines and they're all ruined in that way. Don't let it happen to you. The next thing that can go wrong for a lot of people is not setting your DPI correctly. DPI represents how many dots of ink the printer is going to put per inch, hence dot per inch. For all printed media, you want it to be around 300 DPI, 300 or 500 depending on who you ask, but 300 has always worked for me. This value is tricky to understand sometimes because you can have an image that looks perfectly fine on your screen and it looks great, and you print it out and it's pixelated. And that's because on the screen it doesn't matter as much. You can get away with much lower resolutions, but on paper it needs to be there, otherwise you're gonna regret it and you're gonna not have the best possible quality you could have. So next up, every book has that bit in the middle where stuff disappears. There's a reason novels don't write all the way to the edge in the middle of the book, because you can't read what's there. Don't put central composed images, full bleed, in the middle of the gutter. You're gonna lose someone's face or something really important and it's just gonna look silly. Unless you're intending it, and maybe you can pull it off. 2 ways to go about it: move your image over, change your orientation of the image. You can do loads of stuff, but if you really are dead set on having landscape, full bleed images going through the gutter, your only alternative after that is start looking at different bindings. Every different way of binding a book, of all the millions that are out there, from staple bound to perfect bound to hardback to all your other ones, Swedish exposed style bindings, all the crazy Japanese styles you can find, hand binding, and even newspaper not binding at all, letting just folding them together. all lead to different amount of gutters that you want to be aware of before you kind of ruin a print with that. When picking your binding, you can use it to create a really cool object out of your book. The key thing is not to get bogged down on the images necessarily, but also think about the object as well and how you're creating a cohesive experience for the person who's going to buy it. Binding goes a long way to do that, and they all have a lot of different meanings and histories, and they can imply different things and give very different feelings to your audience. So research into them. This is also a thing to be aware of. Not every binding is going to be available everywhere, and another advantage of these in-person printing services is that they'll probably have more exciting options than your online forms. Online form systems usually offer staple bound, perfect bound, and hardback options. Maybe a lay flat, but they tend to be very expensive through them. So if you want to do something more creative, get involved in that way. If you want to get really creative, go have a look at someone like Kingsley Eiffel, or search around for people who are doing hand binding and learn to do it yourself. You can produce a really personal art project off the back of that, but it does take a long time and you won't be producing 100 copies. So the final question people always come out with is, how many should I print? In my opinion, quality over quantity, and always within your budget. You can never fully predict how many is going to sell, and it's a safer bet to go with a lower number of a more expensive, more special item than it is to print 5 million of a really shitty, tiny, paperback, flimsy thing. You're going to end up with those in a box under your bed for the next 10 years. Promise you, spending that extra money on quality and doing less, just a win-win all around for everyone who buys them. So hopefully that information pushes you in the right direction with your project. If you do end up publishing a zine, please let us know. We'd love to see it. It'll be awesome, and we can talk about stocking it in the shop as well. We're always excited to see what people are doing, especially if it's photography related.